Good afternoon, good evening. It is a pleasure for me to give you the warmest welcome. I'm Carolina Pizarro from Costa Rica, architect and co-director of the International Union of Architects Working Group on Architecture and Childhood. On behalf of this working group, I extend a warm welcome to this interesting webinar entitled Safe Spaces for Children in Critical Situations in Diverse Environment. My warmest regard to the speakers, all attendees, and also to my colleague and co-director, Mina Saba from Romania. Hello, Mina. Welcome.
Welcome everyone to our second webinar of this year. And we are happy to introduce three very special speakers that will bring us to a different world, a world where we care about people, children, young people that have been in a critical situation, in a disaster caused by war or by economic crisis or by a natural disaster. I'm happy to introduce Christina, that will be our moderator. Christina Somogi, our member from Hungary, and she will be the one who will introduce all the speakers. And we would like to have the questions from you on the Q&A down there. The questions will be answered after the three presentations. Christina, please.
Thank you very much.
Next.
Pardon? Thank you very much, Mina and Carolina. Let's start our fantastic webinar. So I'm very happy to greet you all this afternoon in Europe, but we are all around the world, so we are on 24-hour clock. The subject is difficult today. We adults hope that we may hide our crisis from our children. And in some cases, we can do that, we can manage to do that. But there are crises that we cannot hide. They affect, they even endanger children's lives. These are tsunamis, earthquakes, flood, fire, hurricane, wars, revolutions, terrorism, famine, pandemics. We live in an era that is described to have polycrisis. What can architects do in such situations? How can architects be prepared to deal with an after-crisis situation and help? How can children environment conditions be better? Today, we will listen to three experts who will tell us about their work. Thank you for accepting our invitation. This is a special edition of the UIA Architecture and Children Work Program that was called So As We, Experts of Built Environment Education, Know More About the Subject, but also it serves as an introduction to the new special focus on crisis in our Golden Cubes Awards. So after this very short introduction, I will introduce the three speakers who will have 15 minutes to present their ideas. Please send your questions as a chat entry. The chat you find down at the bottom of the screen. You can write your questions there. I will pay attention. And the Q&A session will be after the three speeches. So after everyone has finished, we will have time to answer your important question. I very much appreciate your attention, your time, and I'm happy to be your moderator today. And let's start the presentation of our first speaker, who is architect Patrick Colombel, from Architecte de l'Urgence. He is from France. Thank you, Patrick, to be with us. So Patrick is a diplomed architect. He is the driving force behind the creation of the Emergency Architects Foundation, which he has been directing since 2001 and representing for over 20 years. He has overseen all infrastructure and housing reconstruction projects that emergency architects have implemented for over 2 decades around the third countries such as Haiti, Peru, Colombia, Pakistan, Chad, the Philippines, Indonesia, and many others, following major natural disaster or conflicts that devastated these countries. He has contributed to various international publications and has also personally authored 3 books published by L'Harmattan: Emergency Architect, A New Humanitarian Profession, Journey of a Rough and Ready Architect, and more recently, Let's Stop Amateurism in the Name of Emergency. The title of his speech will be School for All. Patrick, the floor or the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for everybody. And I would like to say thank you for your invitation. I think it's quite important to have discussion and explanation about what this emergency architect is doing in the context of past disaster, war, and our bad situation for reconstruction of project of school. The name of the presentation, it's the sense it's a school for all. The name of School for All means that school it's absolutely necessary for everybody and everywhere. And I think it's the most important thing that we have to mention. It's school for children. It's a basic things of humanity. It's what I'm thinking. It's what I'm trying to do for more than 25 years now, and it's what I'm trying to help people where I can do it in different places in the world. I will share with you a document about emergency architect. Just about the emergency architect, it's an organization. We start after a disaster in France many years ago. Right now, it's near 25 years. And after a big disaster that we had, and people who have been with a big flood, and very fast, we are working on a big explosion in Toulouse. And after that, we work in different countries of the world. And 2 years later, we was working in different countries, and especially we start with Afghanistan in 2002. And
Patrick, sorry, I can't see your screen. Did you already share it?
Yes.
Your presentation, please share it.
Yes, you share. Yes, it's share. You don't see it?
You see it, Mina?
Yes, let me see.
I see it. I see
Yes.
it, but you should do it like a big,
Yes, like the
screen.
presentation.
The presentation sign.
Yes.
Sorry.
You see it?
Yes, we see it.
Okay.
Sorry, I
You-
can't.
You have some example of schools that we did in different places in the world. It's some countries with some schools with different culture, with different things. But I would like to mention something very important, that when we are working in the disaster place, it's not so rare to have in the same place war situation. I can give you an example in Indonesia. It was in Aceh region in 2005 after the big tsunami, and as the location where we are working, we are exactly have the same problem in another country. That means it's I was speaking about Pakistan. When we was working in Pakistan, it was in the north, not far from the Indian border, and one place of the situation with the with Al Qaeda was so near, and it was not simple to work in this kind of place. And each place like this, you can see that we have working all time with local materials, to work with local people, to work with local techniques, and to break a little bit of things, and to work mainly with people on the field. That means it's very important, because when we are working somewhere, we try to help people to make school, but not only school, because in fact, in different places, the example of Philippines socially, they want that school. It's a refugees place in case of disaster, in case of cyclone, earthquake, or something like that. When something happens, they have to go to school, because every people of the village have to go to the school. And the school, it's not only for children, but it's for the community. And in this sense, the school must be very strong, but very without vulnerability. So less vulnerability that's possible, to keep it as soon as it's possible for the long term and to be a safe place for the people. And when we work like this, that means the level of techniques and the level of the building, it's real community building, and you have to be very important impact on the society, in fact. Another example of a small school like this in Haiti. This school is very interesting for one point. At first, there is no road. There is just track to go there. The main road, it's about 1 hour and a half from this place. There is no clean water. There is no electricity. There is, in fact, nothing, but there is people. There is children. There is many people who is living there. And we can work with local techniques to train people to make good construction. And it's possible to do that. Why it's possible to do that? Because if we train the people, they learn. Because everyone in every place in the world can learn. The level of learning of the people is changing, in fact, with the capacity, personal capacity, but everywhere there is intelligent people. We don't have any problems with the people. And the result is always the same. We can have a lot of people, we can have a lot of children who need school. And one of the main problems in this kind of country, the children in the morning when they arrive, they have sometimes and quite often, they have no food, nothing to eat before. And the first thing when the children is coming at the school is to have some food. Also, that means to organize a little bit of structure for a kitchen or something like that, to have the capacity to give food to the children. And this kind of thing, it's one of the things important that you have to explain and to explain to the donors and to try to find the solution for the capacity to work on this kind of project. Because if we don't do that, the result is not so good, because the children can leave the school only because they have to work with the parents, because they don't have food. And anyway, if they have no food at school, they can't go there. And one of the things to bring children at school is to bring food at school. Even it's a terrible situation somewhere. In comparison with a rich country like mine in France or many countries in the world, there is some places, especially in Haiti, or the situation is quite bad for that. Some different.
Patrick, please put your presentation on presentation mode, because enlarge the screen, because we see two slides at the same time. So could you?
Oh. Mm-hmm.
The big screen on the middle.
Yes. Big screen on the middle. This one.
The pictogram, I suppose, on the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Which is one screen.
This one is good?
It didn't change.
It didn't change. I stop and I restart. Now. Mm-hmm. This one is better.
Try
it's
again.
better for you?
It has try it again to make it, yes, the enlarge one. We still see all your slides, and yes, it's not the big screen yet.
Uh-huh. It's better like this?
Well, let's leave it like that. It's the same anyway. Let's go. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Sorry. Oh, yes, I see you. But I don't know how to change that. I don't know. So anyway, the situation is to work with the local techniques, to work with the local people, and to have seismic resistant building is very important. And for the cyclone and this kind of thing is the same thing. We have to be very careful anyway with the techniques and to learn the people locally, the workers, but also not only the workers, but we are doing that for the people with how to explain that. At the market, you can find the materials, and to learn to the people to work with the good techniques. That means they have to both also at the big market, the materials that they need to work on the good capacity of the construction. So this kind of little example there of construction, that means it's possible to do something quite nice. And I think it's important when we are doing a school, it's to do a school like a school for my children. By example, I have 4 children, and I don't imagine to finish a school, and this school was not so good for the children, for mine. If the school is not good for my children, I don't accept to leave the children in the school. And it's one of the things that I'm trying to do everywhere. And when I do that for, by example, for houses, I'm doing exactly the same thing. And there is different typology of construction. It's been done every time, depend of the capacity of the country to bring the materials also, because somewhere there is not many materials, but there is also some techniques, and there is a reconstruction process we have been done with a low carbon. And to do that with low carbon, there's been a reconstruction with a process of things that we can find quite near. And it's very important to mention all time, to be very careful on this point. This kind of schools, by example, this school in Haiti, it's very interesting because even in Haiti, we can do something with quite good quality. There is cyclones, there is earthquake, there is poverty, and there is war. Actually, there is everything. And earthquake, it's in 10 years there have 2 big earthquakes, different place, one in Port-au-Prince, one in another place where we have already worked, and there is cyclone where there is earthquake before. And in the same time, it's a war situation with a civil war. That means it's maybe one of the worst situations in the world that we can find, one of the worst, because there is worse. There's always worse of worse. But the problem is we're trying to find solution, and we work on good things for the people, even if they are very poor. And I think it's very important to try to always to do something where we are happy to see that. And a few pictures like this, and I'm quite finished about the presentation, but I would like to explain a few things about all that. It's about one thing that I'm trying to do for all this year is to work on the concept of to offer capacity for children to work in a good condition. That means when you are very poor, you imagine you don't need a school because you have no money. You need just a teacher, even a bad teacher. If you have a bad teacher and bad school, the result it's a bad education. But for society, if we are working for something and in the future it will be good for everybody, we need a good school, good teacher, and good people who want to do things. And if we are doing everything like that, I think the result is not bad. And I remember always one thing. It's about one of the French writer. His name is Saint-Exupéry, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry was explaining in the Terre des Hommes when he was traveling. He's the author of Le Petit Prince. He was speaking about the concept of Mozart, who can be killed if you kill Mozart, you miss something for the society, for the community, for all the community. Imagine if Mozart had no school, he didn't been at school, humanity lost a lot of things, and we never know that. Even in a poor country, in a country that is war and everything like that, if we are doing school, it's for this reason, because somewhere it can save humanity, it can help humanity, and it can be a Mozart somewhere. And like say Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, we don't have to kill Mozart. We never know that. And it's why I am doing this work in emergency architect for many years. And it's only this reason. And everywhere, when we leave a country, at least we try to make one school, even we have not a lot of money. I think I am just in time, and I'm finished.
Thank you very much, Patrick, from the name of all the little Mozarts from around the world, from all the kids who really need education, need attention, need new possibilities. Thank you very much. I call attention of our attendees that you might already have questions to Patrick. Please write down your questions or write them in the chat. Prepare yourself to ask the questions at the end of the three presentation, or at the end of the three presentation, raise your hand. There is a hand signal down, and then I will pay attention and call you, and you can ask those ideas, question, remarks that you have already in mind. Well, let's go now to our second speaker, Tejan Karakuskandam and her colleague Songül Üzgün, who are from Turkey. I'm very happy that you are with us today. Shortly, I would like to present both of you, and then I give you the floor. So Tejan is an architect, artist, writer, columnist, director. She served as the head of the Ankara branch of the Chamber of Architects between 2014 and 23. She gave lectures on children and architecture on the Faculty of Architecture. She worked on children and architecture at the Ankara branch of the Chamber of Architects. Since 2007, she has been the member of our group, the UIA Children and Architecture World Group. She has conducted workshops with terrorism victims, earthquake victims, and migrant children and architecture studies, along with many workshops. And about her colleague, Songül Üzgün, she's a freelance architect, worked as a manager in Ankara branch and headquarters of the Chamber of Architects. She conducted workshops with terrorism victims, also earthquake victims, and also immigrant children in child and architect studies. So thank you very much for being with us. I know that you will also share a film that you made for this special occasion. So I'm very much interested in your talk. Tejan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. I am happy to be here. Our presentation, in the presentation, we will share our experiences from the 3 workshops we organized within the scope of children and architecture in Turkey. Together with these experiences, we will mention tips on how children at risk can communicate with the built environment. We conducted a multidisciplinary study while working with these groups, along with architects, social workers, psychologists, journalists, and writers, artists, and took part in the work. The result of our work with children who are victims of war, terrorism, and the southwest in Anatolia, and earthquake is very clear. You reap what you sow. Children who are the most vulnerable are harmed in war, terror, and earthquakes. They lose their lives, the sparkle in their eyes, their child souls, a warm hand, a loving touch, a magical touch that shatters the darkness into which they are forced. What we had in common in our work with these 3 groups was that they had all lost their homes and had a shortage of space. So we are studying in workshop. We carried out a restorative process for the children well-being, focusing on the space rather than the building itself, because the government doesn't allow construction process in the earthquake zone and the terrorism zone. So since time is very limited, I'll speak 2 seconds, and we have prepared our presentation as an 8-minute short film, and we would like to show it you. I am share it. Okay.
We don't have the sound. Tejan, we don't have the sound. Tejan, we can't hear it.
Why?
We don't have the sound.
I hear sounds.
Mina, could you hear it? Because I didn't.
I am hear it.
Okay, but the sound doesn't go through.
What can I do? Do you hear it? Do you hear it?
No,
Did you hear it?
no.
Oh, what can I do? I hear in my computer.
Did you? Okay. Because we already tried it and that time it worked.
Is the
Mina,
subtitle
please.
in English in the Turkish presentation and subtitle in English?
Okay, then
Can you
maybe
see? Can you
okay,
read?
Dejan, we see both screens. We see also you, and we see also the presentation of the film. So maybe it would be nice if you shared only the film, and then it will be bigger, and then we can read it better.
Okay.
For a moment it was right, but now I can't see anything. Dejan, sorry, I'm sorry, I think we lost you. Songül, can you help us? Because I think we can't see Tejan. Okay, she's back.
And I am share it. I don't share it. No, I don't share it.
Now,
No. I don't share it.
you can't share it.
I don't.
Okay. Mina, I know that you
In the
don't have the
app.
voice, but maybe you can do it if she can't.
Okay.
Okay,
Share,
Tejan, I will share the film and you can talk over the film. Maybe it's much easier. Yes.
Okay.
So I don't have a sound, but I think the pictures will speak for themselves. So
Okay, the sound is the Turkish, the meaning in the presentation, and the subtitles in English, and the Turkish, the sound, the same. Okay? Hmm. Okay, I am very sorry for the sound and the effects. Because when it was silent, the spirit of the presentation was lost. I am sharing the film links in YouTube in the chat groups.
Tejan, would you like to make any comments? Because the film was, I think, well, very informative with the three main topics, but would you like to add anything?
No,
No.
no.
Okay, thank you very
Thank you.
much, and we will
Thank
certainly
you.
have
Thank you.
questions.
Sorry,
Thank you very much.
not at all.
And then let's listen to our third speaker, architect Carmen Mendoza Arroyo. She's an architect with a PhD in urban design and regional planning. She's an associate professor at the School of Architecture, Universitat Internacional de Catalunya, Barcelona. From 2012 to 2025, she directed the Master in International Cooperation in Sustainable Emergency Architecture. She's currently coordinates the Sustainable Urban Living SUL research group at UIC, where she leads the research line of the sustainable recovery and displacement. Her work addresses critical issues such as disaster, migration, and displacement. Her research explores methodologies for urban regeneration through community participation and approaches the urban reconstruction within the field of emergency architecture. More recently, she has focused on systematic models for urban integration of refugees and migrants. In these fields, she has published articles, books, chapters, and edited volumes, as well as a supervised doctoral thesis and led research projects. The title of her speech, Crisis Responsive Design Education, Preparing Architects for Vulnerable Contexts. I'm very happy that you are here and you speak about how we can prepare ourselves for this very difficult situation. Carmen, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. I wanted to start by thanking you all for inviting me to this very interesting panel. Congratulations to the participants. Wonderful video and presentations so far. I wanted today, I will share some reflections on how design education can nurture empathy and prepare future architects to create spaces of safety and dignity for children and other vulnerable populations in times of crisis. As we've been seeing throughout this session, we are living in a context of climate emergency, conflict, and mass displacement. And it usually is children and vulnerable groups who suffer the most across Europe and beyond. And I say that because we have an urgent need, not only of going to the other side of the world or developing countries, but in Europe too, where I live in Spain. We need adequate shelter, relocation, urban reconstruction. It's no longer distant. It is at our doorstep. And wars too, obviously. This reality, I believe, demands that professionals in the built environment, architects, urbanists, engineers, are equipped not only with technical skills, but with methodologies that are people-centered rather than top-down. Our role must be to act, therefore, as facilitators, supporting communities as they rebuild homes, livelihoods, and definitely their food. Responding effectively requires not only the redistribution of materials and economic resources, in our case, it also involves knowledge transfer. That is why I believe that architectural education must explore new forms of pedagogy, urban and architectural, that can build civic culture as the foundation for addressing vulnerability. So through this talk, which I called Crisis Response Design Education, oops, let me see the slide here. Hold on. Sorry. I'm going to share, as Christina was saying, my experience in these past years directing a master's program called International Cooperation Sustainable Emergency Architecture, in which what we wanted to do was prepare architects, urban designers, engineers, people from the built environment to develop and rebuild communities affected by what I was saying before, rapid urbanization, poverty, conflict, disasters, and urban displacement. So we decided that in order to do that, and this is what I'm going to show today, the program should combine not only academic teaching, but field work and community engagement as part of this field work. So as part of this, as part of what I'm going to explain today, it's all linked to research. The master's program and all my work has been linked to research. And the research group I coordinate is called Sustainable Urban Living, but the research line I lead is Sustainable Recovery and Displacement. So it basically focuses on 3 interconnected areas at an urban scale, and I think this is what it makes it singular. For many years, we've been talking only of shelter and settlements, but now the world is so urbanized, everything is urban, so we really do need to look at a bigger scale to start any kind of reconstruction, any kind of relocation. And this is what the program has emphasized and my research. So basically combining projects on climate change effects, right? Post-disaster reconstruction, not first emergency, but reconstruction, urban displacement, and with 2 key focus, a bottom-up participatory mapping of what we believe is the way to recover with community-valued spaces, and adapting our design tools towards that, and at the same time, knowledge transfer as empowerment. I think we believe that our work has to strengthen community capacity and therefore resilience. So as part of this program, and what I want to explain today, because it's very linked to the topic of children, how do we do this has been, I'll show you an example, but basically we would create this annual international workshop. The important thing of this workshop is that it was a real project and it was partnered with communities, local organizations, local universities, so that local architects could be involved, because context is so important when it comes to everything, culture and context, and being, culturally adequate in what we're doing, in order to co-develop the new projects, real projects, projects that would come up from this participation. So basically, we wanted to, through these workshops, address urgent local needs. They would be given to us when we got there and use our professional expertise to go there. We wanted to strengthen cooperation between communities and higher education. The local universities were given a role that was very important, and therefore foster, and I think this is the most important thing of how aspect in order to create empathy in new professionals is social responsibility and service learning. I think this is part of the method that we've seen throughout the years has been very effective. So I'm going to show you this case study, and I picked it because it was very centered on creating a children's space. This was in the context of Piura in Peru after the floods of the Niño Costero in 2017. When we went, it was 2020, and there was funds from the Peruvian government in order to do a huge reconstruction plan related to the floods. Our collaboration was very strong, and this is why I think this project continued and was as long as it could. Was the local government of this Pedregal. It was the University of Piura and the architecture students. It was a local NGO specialized in bamboo because that's the traditional material there. And the objectives were basically to apply culturally grounded approaches to risk reduction. And this is something key in everything we do. It has to be very culturally grounded, because or else it's not just going there and taking your materials and your expertise, but really learning from the community itself. And this, at the same time, our mission is to strengthen community resilience along strengthening the built structures, obviously, as architects, right? And using, again, the urban scale to guide this reconstruction protocols. So our methodology is community-centered. We're talking about, as I say, not just recovery of the built structures, but also trying to understand the livelihoods and have the community as partners. So we focus very much on culture and identity. How do we integrate the cultural, physical, and social traits into the recovery strategies? We also think it's very important to think about governance and decision-making. And so we want to know how the power relations are in the places we're going to work, to map the local governance and decision-making systems with key roles for the local partners. I think this is very important. Sometimes you go into do a project and you don't know about the power relations and the project fails because not everybody can use it. It's restricted to a group, et cetera, et cetera. No? And finally, knowledge and capacity. We do want to ensure that as professionals, we will work with the community in order to do some capacity development and knowledge transfer in both ways, And we learn also when we're there, and we listen first and observe and then do, right? I think this is one of the main things we try to transmit in this methodology. So then it's what are the tools that we used, and these are the steps that we used in this case. Here you can see an image of Pedregal Grande. And we first analyzed the post-disaster conditions with the idea of understanding what is resilient as it is, and the construction that people do, and the way the urban fabric is placed, etc., in order to propose then nature-based solutions. This was one of the targets of this workshop. And in order to do that, we did an urban layer analysis. Here you can see what we call the civic grid, which is putting together everything that is uses that are civic in order to enhance them when we're doing the proposals. And this came up from participatory workshops. That is a key element of this methodology to finally do some recommendations for sustainable reconstruction, in this case in Pedregal Grande. So a part that is key then of this methodology, as you've seen, is participation and communication strategies, which is one of the things that the architects, urbanists, planners, geographers too, engineers that joined the program really think is key and is new for them. We tend to work in our silos of education, and we're taught as architects and urbanists to just look at the physical aspects. So the qualitative research is never part of our agenda. In this case, this is what we enhance. So we did broad consultation. The idea is to engage with communities, elected officials, in this case, the mayor of the town, because it was very small, the church groups, etc. Doing interactive learning, using modeling. It's using our creativity and hands-on activities to communicate design ideas for them to understand and to complement and to co-create with us. So very practical workshops, as you see here in the picture on the right, on the bottom, it's the mayor that's there and the people of the community, seeing the drawings, seeing the model on the left, presenting them in order to transmit ideas and then incorporate them. Leadership integration, in this case, Care International was one of the NGOs that was leading the reconstruction and giving information points to the people. So there was somebody they already trusted when we got there. We never go in without a community-based organization because of that. And so I will show you a bit, since it was supposedly a playground for children, the site, and at the same time a memorial space to honor the tragedy, but they wanted it to be a playground for children. One of the main workshops we did, besides the ones you saw before, was with the children of the town. And basically our idea was to engage the children and in the design process of this playground or this play area, and see what their ideas were, what their memory was of what happened with the flooding, and all at the same time, what did they want? So on the left, you can see the exercise of cognitive mapping we did with the children. Obviously, their parents were there, and this was organized by the community, not by us. They had to locate their homes, the play spaces on the map. It was interesting to see their perception of risk, and we put them by ages. So the older ones saw the floods as dangerous. The children didn't that much. No, we tried to see their day-to-day routes and dynamics. And then also in this part of the workshop, there was also this part of seeing what they wanted in the space. Now, it reminded me a bit of the drawings that we were seeing before. It was a free drawing activity. The children could express their reality and desires for this public space. So it's basically conceptual drawings, just guided to use them for the design process, especially what was needed, what was wanted, etc. And so being part of the participatory process and coming to the final presentation, which was done at this community space, was very enriching for them to see and recognize things they had wanted. So at the end, it ended up being a multifunctional space for resilience. It wasn't what we thought at the beginning. It ended up being a memorial space for some of them, a risk information center. That's why it had to have a second floor. It became part of a evacuation route area where people could gather. They suggested educational workshops to happen, a marketplace, a venue for celebrations and festivals, a relaxation area, a safe zone during severe flooding. Basically, that was the main objective. So it was much more than what initially the municipality had in mind. They just wanted a couple of swings, and it ended up being part of a whole plan that then would be conducted. We'd usually don't construct, but in this case, there was the local organization, the NGO of the Bamboo. There were so many people involved, so many organizations involved that they wanted us to start this project there. So it started. We left when this was what's happening. We weren't even finishing, but the children were already in the swings. They really appropriated the site because of the way they were part of the process, no? So basically, I don't know how I'm with time, but I do want to just end with these key ideas of the importance of value, the value of situated practice when we're architects, urbanists, going into working in crisis area. Besides the ethical part, which is extremely important, and taking off this idea of us knowing everything before we get there, and listening and listening and listening, like a colleague of mine says. I think it's everyday engagement that really builds the capacity to act when a crisis strikes. So therefore, situated practice is very important. And because, as I say here, the presence is in the ordinary, understanding what works and what doesn't work, understanding the DNA of the place before we start interviewing enables us to do a response when a crisis occurs, no? I think that the collaboration between us and the local populations are the only way to really create an impact, to really have the community learn from knowledge transfer, having local communities participate in the workshop when we were building, understanding what are the materials they use. This is basically what we've been teaching over the years, and which we believe does make a huge difference when we're working in reconstruction and also in relocation. We believe that having the communities as partners, as equal partners, and not basically us taking the decisions, which is difficult when you're working in international organizations, but it's getting there. I think localization is one of the main things that is happening on the field, and it's all about cultural adequacy, right? When it comes to materials, when it comes to making something sustainable. So yeah, in a nutshell, this is what I wanted to explain very briefly. We could go on forever, so thank you.
Carmen, thank you very much for your very interesting talk. And now that the three presentations are over, that I keep thanking for a lot of time because it was really encouraging and really important. I see that there are questions already put in the Q&A box, and I also see that some of them were already answered. But I think as we are in a community, it would be nice to listen to it. So I will read them out. The first ones were basically for Patrick. And well, yes, the first question from Andrea Loyola Ramirez is, it's about the network of partners you work with. Where do you get the funding to make the experience sustainable? And how do you work with the community on infrastructure sustainability a long time? So Patrick, would you be so kind as to tell us about your answer? And, this is really about the functioning of your activity.
Yes, it's at first thing for the partner to raise money. It's as we were a little bit know in France, in Europe, we raise fund not easily, but we can raise fund for in case of big disaster or big problems, and we have a quite strong organization for that. We are organized in the foundation, but we have a foundation from other foundation here in France, but also in other countries who is working with us. and we have a capacity to send materials and organize things, and we are working all that in this way. We are working with a local partner through the, by example, UIA. By example, UIA, it's quite important for us when we arrive somewhere in a country, we can have a partner locally, architect and the kind of things, and also engineers, because we need to work with engineers at the same time. And we used to work also with the local capacities. What's mainly depend on what there is on the country, but when there is a local capacity, we work with them. And it's always a way to share experience, to share what we can do, and to share with the maximum of people. I have no other idea to share things, and I would like to mention something. In my job is not at all my job to work as emergency architect. I have another work, and I work in my practice, and it's completely separate. I separate the activity of emergency architecture and emergency situation to my work, where I run money, and I think it's important for me to mention that, and that's all.
And how do you separate emergency architecture from your job?
I am not paid to work for emergency architect, and
Okay.
even we have people in the structure who have paid, and they are paid because they are professional. I work as a technical director, and I work also as I speak in the name of the emergency architect, mainly by example what I am doing tonight, but also in the media, and it's a capacity to raise money. More we have media, more we raise money in case of disaster, and we work on it. I am not paid for that, but I do that because I think it's something interesting to do. It can help people, and in my life, I think it's not necessary for me. And with my story, I don't want to do that. That's all.
You mentioned the importance of building a school and how many possibilities a schools offer on a difficult situation, from giving food to making communities. Eva Strozinska from France was asking, do you work with children during that process? And in the chat, you answered that children are not part of that process. You are more working with the parents. And Eva asked that because there is literature about the importance or about the similarity of building something important and building yourself. So in a way, you rebuild your life when you rebuild your home or a school. So that's why she was asking the possibility of involving children in the process of building a new school. But you said that this is not happening. Why?
The reason it's I saw from the presentation very interesting of Carmen, the concept of intervention and to work in with a community to try to make a design and to ask a partnership with the people. And we know that we did that already many years ago, 15 years ago. We did that. An example in Haiti, and it's interesting to do that because we can have the feedback of the field. And we can do that also with the children. But we had a big problem with that for very simple things that we when we start this kind of work, we had problems with the people when we can't do the work, because we imagine to work with them, but we don't have the capacity sometimes to make completely to change the environment, because it was so expensive and the money was gone and it was finished. And I am very careful on it. And in my perception and my answer, it's more or less the situation that we never want to work with the children for the reason of we never want a children work. You know what I mean? It's in this sense that I would like to say that.
Carmen and Tejan, you work with children. So what is your perspective of doing something with children for the recreation of their own living area? So what is your reaction and your experience? I'm asking that to Tejan and also to Carmen. Carmen, you are muted. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll answer first. I mean, it's obviously we don't just go and talk to the children. It's a whole process. I understand what Patrick says. It's complicated. But for us, it's been very it's always inspiring. I mean, I think one of the best things of working with children is that they say things as they think it, they draw them. Their perceptions are so naive in a way and so honest that what we encountered that was a problem, and luckily there was a psychologist with us, was that they started expressing things that would happen inside their houses that were quite troubling, and we weren't expecting those answers, no, like they put the sad face in their house, on their house, and outdoors it was like a happy face, so these were things that came up, and these are things you have to be ready for. That's why transdisciplinary or working interdisciplinarily is so important. That's something I didn't stress enough in my presentation, and that has happened in each and every one of the workshops we've done. We've been partners with Red Cross, we've been partners with not only local NGOs that build, or like the bamboo or etc., but also social workers. I think this is key. We are not equipped as architects to understand these kind of problems, and we shouldn't. Our field is the built environment, but we do need to incorporate the people's voices. This is what I wanted to say, no? But it was very gratifying, especially in this workshop. It was very easy for them to understand and to play. We did it very much with playing and drawing, and and for them there were certain things, especially with the 12 to 14-year-olds, it was a bit more complicated, but we weren't alone. This is very important. It's not as architects that we can do all this alone.
Dejan, I would like to focus on the Earthquake project you were focusing on. And there was one sentence that really struck me. One of the children said, "I cannot stay indoors anymore." And in a way, I imagine that someone living through an important earthquake and seeing something that should be very solid, a house, a home, going down, and seeing disaster, that after rebuilding the idea of the home and also rebuilding a building is a very difficult process. Tejan or Songül, could you please comment how kids can be involved, according to you, in the reconstruction, rebuilding of their environment? It may be more an abstract thing, or it can be a more playful thing, or it can be a very project-based thing. So what do you think, Tejan and Songül? Are you with us? Tejan?
Hi.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We are working. The three groups is very difficult. And we carried out a restorate process for the children's well-being in the first, and then the earthquake, the last earthquake, we have planned in the emergency houses in the earthquake area. And we think the related children area and the playground and the small house is the planning, and then the big greenhouse is the we have planning. But the government doesn't allow construction in area. We have a project and then not build construction in earthquake area. And then the 1919, the big earthquake in Adapazarı, as you know, we have a plan in a new life house in victims earthquake, and the children, the construction built in Kocaeli, the collaborated local governments and the public house NGO. And the financial association is Bremen Public Initiative in the and then there is the it is a I don't what can I say? It is a just a moment. It is the being used in there in Kocaeli and 25 years ago we built instruction. So it is very difficult in Turkey. Is that Turkey is an interesting country. You can see in the last process. So the government is the keep area. We want to go there and the war, the victims and the earthquake victims, the cut on the relate the people and architect.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a difficult situation then.
Yeah, it's difficult situation. Difficult.
I suppose there is so much attachment to a location where you were born, where you lived, and
Yeah.
it's difficult that you want to make things better or on the big nice days as it happened before, and now that there's so much energy and still you can't do it.
Yeah.
It's sorry to hear that.
Yes.
I will be reading out the next question from Adila Tashin-Sara. I suppose it's for Carmen. How do you propose to include participatory methods into the architectural pedagogy? For example, in undergrad design studios, where at least in my country, there is a time and resource constraint for the design studio projects to fully explore and help students grasp the participatory process, especially in the third, fourth year studios, because they are learning the theory or participatory methods and are interested to incorporate in the design studio project. So Carmen, what is your idea about that?
Yes, definitely participation to work has to be in a long period of time, and that's why we usually partner with local organizations that already have done participatory process with the community, and they have their trust. It's a matter of trust. And it's also very important to say that you are not creating false expectations, because one of the problems of doing participatory methods in an academic scenario, like in the undergrad, is that when you go to that community and you start doing participatory workshops, you can create false expectations. You're not going to do a real project with the government or the municipality or whatever, you know. So this is basically what I explained was a master's. That's not an undergrad master's, but it's what we call a university master's in Europe. You have to be an architect already. You have to be an engineer already. It's not an habilitating master's, which would be undergrad, fourth, fifth year. So that's very important. In the undergrad, in my urban design course, we do mention the qualitative research, and they do observations as part of the qualitative research. And I think that's key. In any urban design studio, you just have to read Jane Jacobs, which is the observant of the urban. And she would gives methods of, we give them methods of observation. We talk a lot about gender urbanism because inclusivity is a gender urbanism. When we're talking about the city of care, that's it. It's observing, it's making it accessible. So going and observing if the site is accessible enough, if it's if there's mobility that's close, etc. Obviously, I teach at a European university, so the complexities are much less. More in a city like Barcelona, that's very, very accessible. But it's important. I totally agree. It's very important that we do see that our contexts are changing and are so complex, even in Europe right now, with disasters, with conflict situations, very close, that we do have to incorporate this observation, these qualitative methods. I mean, there's very different qualitative methods you could incorporate that don't have to be participatory processes that are very long. I think observation is one of the things we can incorporate, but it is risky, and it is, we don't want to do just consultation, which is not real participation. No, it's better to be doing what we are trying to do, no, having the community as part of the decision-making process. But for that, you do need to have an organization that's been working with the community and has their trust, and that they understand that it's a project that's going to be done, et cetera, et cetera. No? I don't know. It depends also in the country you're living, if the planning and the urban scale does enable and does enhance participation, then it would be really useful to teach it or mention it in undergrad.
So you are arguing that in the university masters, the fieldwork is part of the academic program.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
The next question is for Patrick. Hi, Patrick. In your view, could the establishment of a network connecting different organizations locally and particularly contribute to the accelerating of reconstruction process? Furthermore, do you believe that greater emphasis should be placed on developing emergency programs within each country that can mobilize and channel funds more effectively towards reconstruction efforts?
Now, one of the reasons we're working through the network of UIA, it's especially for one of these reasons, it's to try to organize an international network of emergency architecture. And emergency architect, we had already office in different countries after when we are working there, but we need people all time in different places. And actually, we are working in, for example, in Morocco or in Turkey, with a special situation in Turkey, like it was mentioned just before, and it is very interesting to have this point of view also. So we believe that the networking it's a big issue. It's very important, and we have to work together. Why? Because in fact, in the humanitarian action, when there is big problem, there is not so many people who have the capacity to work on reconstruction. Why? Because it's a work. We have to work with who? With people who have the capacity to make things strongly with good quality and with the knowledge of a local knowledge. That means to work with engineer, with architect, with a local partner as soon as is possible. I never mentioned that I was working in education, because I leave education for many years now, and I keep one way. It's humanitarian action by choice, also because the perception of the action of a humanitarian action in the School of Architecture in France was not so near of my perception. So anyway, the things it's also it can be interesting to work on this kind of thing. But I think the best way to work on it is to do something through MOOC and training, international training. Like I mentioned, some things that I follow sometimes, by example, EPFL in Lausanne, who is doing international MOOC with, by example, near 20,000 students in the same studio in the same time. And I think something like that, it's very important. Why? Because the perception it's completely global about one techniques, one subject. And I think the way it's very interesting like this, and we can raise people for that, to find people who are interesting. It's not only on a small focus of a few students. And I think even the few students are important, more we can do. I imagine always also is the same thing that I mentioned with Saint-Exupéry. If you have a guy who is living in a small city, in a small village in Africa or something, somewhere in the world, he's alone, he have a mobile phone, and he can follow the education. And I think it's a way.
Thank you very much. I see the time, and I know that Carolina and Mina would like to say some ending notes. But before I give the floor to them, I would like to thank again for the questions and also for the speakers. And this afternoon, a talk webinar was recorded, and we will put it out on the UIA website. We can write some comments next to them, and some of the questions were looking for more information. So we would really appreciate if you sent us information, maybe websites or books or any background knowledge that would benefit those architects who are thinking to focus more on crisis, different situations, whether it's an urgent situation, an urgent crisis, or whether it's the afterlife from a crisis situation and the rebuilding process, because that would help our members to better understand those key points that they have to consider if they are interested in the field. So we would really appreciate that. You can send these information to Carolina or Mina or me, and we will find the best way to send that information over. So thank you very much for your presence. And now, Carolina, Mina, it's for you to sum it up and to share some more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina, and I thank all our guests today. Some of my questions were already answered, and I just will share with you the reason why we organize this webinar. The reason is that we have this award in the UIA called Golden Cubes, and every 3 years we are looking for the best projects that mediate architecture and built environment values to children and young people. And starting with this edition, we will introduce a new award, which is called Hot Topic Award. We are looking for a project or 4 projects that aim to raise awareness of the built environment education in relation to current global changes. So we are looking for projects done with children, with young people, in a participative way or in a more direct way, to relieve them, to help them overcome a context of significant societal disruption. I cannot read these words. To help them recover after a war, or natural disasters, or climate change, or any other crisis. And in a way, I'm happy that Tejan video has no noise, because the noise was terrible. It was a noise of an earthquake. So in that way, somehow with all this silent, it was more impactful. So Tejan, don't worry. It was okay. The video without the noise. So this is why we organize this webinar, to showcase the different ways you can build a project or address a crisis through built environment education. And because our time is running out, I will just ask you to scan this QR code to read the regulations of the awards, of the Golden Cubes Awards, and also to send us questions till November 1st at the UI address written below. The award has these 4 categories. You already know: schools, institutions, written media, and audiovisual media. but the international jury will also choose one or two, I don't know, projects that address hot topic. And also we send you an invitation, because we are doing not only webinars, but we are doing seminars. And this autumn, we have in October 2 seminars on 2 continents. So if you happen to be in Peru, in Lima, actually, you are invited to join our group and the group of Children, Architecture and Childhood of Americas, ANDA, in a conference on October 20th in Lima, in Colegio de Arquitectos del Perú. I hope I spelled it correctly, auditorium. And if you are in Europe, better say in Venice, in the Biennale, you can join us for a very lively talk in October 26th. We have a talk on why architects should be involved in built environment education. It's a part of the Gens Public program of the Biennale. And we will showcase many examples from Europe and Northern Africa. And if you want to know more about these 2 seminars that are forthcoming, you just follow our Facebook page that is already here with a QR code. And also, please follow and share our activity on the Facebook and on our website. And I would like to invite also Carolina for a few words before we say goodbye.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us today for this webinar. It is essential for us to disseminate and discuss the important topic like this related to architecture and childhood, to contribute to the well-being in this population. Today, we had the opportunity to meet and learn from the great work of this great professional. Thank you very much. We are, without a doubt, there's much to reflect on, much to do, and much to humanize through our profession. Much more must be done to create safe space for children. On their behalf, thank you for your work. Thank you again. See you next time. Goodbye, all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.